We came so far from dreams. The path was hard for me. They thought we fall, you see. Well, look at us now, look at us now. We make it hot when we on the scene. Yeah, that's 1,000 degrees. I got a grind for me and my team. Yeah, you know we gon' eat. You see the crowds when we come around. You know that I roll with some kings. We sit it down, I don't hear a sound, but I ask you who better than we. Tell me who better than we. We soaring to places you never could reach. When we walk in that spot, don't hear none of you speak. Shh, do you want peace or the peace? A king about to put you to sleep. Listen, my team is elite. You not even qualified to compete. He starving, he barely can eat. I guess that's why he always itching for beef. So I put him on ice and I told him to chill. Close your mouth if you can't pay for the meal. Making statements that you know you don't mean. Nice guy trying to act like he mean. Keep it a buck, keep it a bean. Attitudes will put you dudes in the beam. Isekai, he don't live in reality. Shake back, all become a fatality. Yeah, how you gon' hate when you mirror us? He think he a star, he ain't serious. X him out, we not on the same frequency. If you broke, you ain't hearing us. Work the screw, anime, that's how I feel, period. We winning, that's making them furious. We make it high when we on the scene. Yeah, that's 1,000 degrees. I got a grind for me and my team. Yeah, you know we gon' eat. You see the crowds when we come around. You know that I roll with some kings. We sit it down, I don't hear a sound, but I ask you who better than we.
Yo, what it do, guys? It is your boy, Leon Mookie here, back with you with another new What If for you guys. And this is my second Will What If for the channel. This is what if Will had a Keyblade. Basically finishing that of the Keyblade trio between Izuku, Asta, and now Will. So, with all that out of the way, let's get into this. Shall we, guys? In this world, magic is everything. Magic is power, magic is prestige, magic is knowledge, and magic is your identity. This is the world that Will Serfort has lived in his entire life. And even though there are other worlds, such as the original world where the doors originally came from, and the world where elves originally came from as well, this is one world where he only knows one after the other. And that's because he has no magic. Nothing special about him. Nothing that makes him truly outstanding at all. Except one thing. He's unnaturally strong. He's powerful. He's fast, durable, and even a genius in combat, with also understanding magic quite well. But being in this world, since he doesn't have magic or can't even use it, he is seen lesser by everybody around him. Outside, his childhood friend and the love of his life, Elfiria. She is the one person, alongside a few others, who actually care deeply about Will, who worry about him, who care about him, who always were there by his side. Even now, the laggard of a mage, the pathetic, the outcast, now considered a genius as a warrior, somewhat acknowledged by that of his peers, even without that of magic. But even so, he has his limits, and considered and still not even best. However, him being a genius in that of the dungeon, and constantly fighting monsters within the dungeon to gain credits and points to become a Magia Vander, alongside Elfiria as well. However, all of that changed when a certain incident during that of an exam known as the all-student praxis exam, where teams would descend down that of the dungeon, but at that of a certain limit, where they would basically defeat and gather monster materials. But the exam was basically interrupted, meaning to that of two mysterious individuals. A man with that of a black and white attire, with that having that of a black mask covering his mouth and his nose. However, you can still see them, but not his entire facial structure. Not to mention his blonde hair and piercing red eyes. As for the other, the second person is the one who's actually more frightening than that of his fellow cohort. This man being headless. The reason being, he has no head, and nothing but smoke, as he just wears that of a white blouse long shirt with that of black jeans. And the only way for him to basically speak is basically writing things down in front of him as the words basically speak for him. As this man has no qualms with killing anybody, as he was able to basically kill that of 20 instructors for this exam. As the only reason that they came down to that of the dungeon and interrupted for that of a magic item in the dungeon. However, Headless, being the sociopath that he is, wanted to have a little bit of fun outside of just killing the instructors. When he saw that of Will and his team for the exam, being that of Colette, Scion, Julius, Wagnall, and Leanna, as the man couldn't help but actually take joy in this as he summons a powerful floor monster, considered to be one of the strongest, from that of the 25th floor, its floor boss, the evil Grand Drake. A devastating, large, chaotic creature with that of large black wings, a head that's basically would have that of multiple spiked blades on it. It almost looks like that of a crown, and a powerful monster with even its own form of magic as well. Similar to that of their sadistic and an always brooding professor, Edward, as the evil Grand Drake has that of dark magic. Just by opening its mouth, you could even see that of the dark magic leaking from its body, before it then sends that of a blast of dark magic after creating a spell circle. But then all of that of the students had to get out of the way before getting hit by it, with having to get into that of a crevice with the help of Wignall and his illusion magic. They were able to hide away. However, that of the evil Grand Drake could see through his illusions, given that Wignall's illusions are not as strong as that of his fellow elves. With that of Leanna coming to save him, using that of her lightning magic, they were able to pull back before the Drake's attack was able to hit. With now wondering what they're going to do, how they're going to get out of that, because again, they're not even strong enough to handle such a powerful monster such as that of a Grand Drake, with many of them even arguing amongst them until Will spoke up saying that they had to fight it. With Julius hearing that, basically telling Will that he's crazy, out of his mind of basically facing against that of a floor boss from that of the 25th floor, as Will says that, yeah, it's crazy. However, as long as they work together, coordinate their attacks properly, and stick to that of a good plan, then they have a chance to win. Even though Will has never gone up to that of the 20th floors, he still knows on how certain monsters think, even floor bosses too. Not to mention, add that with that of the Drake's ability to recruit, to basically call that of monsters around its surroundings. If they don't take it out now, they're going to get overwhelmed, and sooner or later they'll basically be in that of a cat and mouse game where they're going to lose. Colette is already on board because of course she trusts Will more than anything. Even Wignall, right after basically being saved by Will multiple times after being when the group was separated by that of Mars and Headless, so Wignall is basically on board from get-go. Scion, on the other hand, doesn't really care about listening to Will. However, he's willing to put it aside if it means that they get out of this alive. Even that of Leanne originally used Will and brought him onto the party to be nothing but a shield after all, but now realizing that he's actually the more calm, cool, and rash one in this situation, and actually has a plan, she's willing to follow him after all. Julius, still a little skeptic until Will basically says that he is going to be their trump card and their key component on how this plan is going to work, which led that of the, Blue Net completely and utterly caught off guard. As they began to set up the plan, that's when multiple ice clones of Julius began to appear and send out a barrage after barrage of ice spells, as they barely do any damage to the Ice Drake, but it does basically annoy him to the point that he sends that of blast after blast of dark magic spells, which caused Julius to freak out a little bit, but still continues to create clones after clone. Wignall basically creates that of more illusions to hide that of the others around him. However, it's not enough, but even so, just for a split few seconds, that's all they need for that of Scion Colette sending barrages of their own spells from that of fire spells to that of earth spells into that of the Grand Drake. Even Leanne using that of her, lightning magic brings down, causing it to basically, stun for a bit. However, its mouth is about basically raises its mouth, about to call in for that of reinforcements. That's when Will finally steps in, blitzing forward, jumping up into the air, before then bringing down his sword. However, seeing that Will is coming at him, it basically stops its recruitment spell and sends that of multiple spell circles around his back, sending that of a volley of spell circles into that of Will, with Will dodging at least a few of them and basically blocking the others with his sword. With that, Wignall basically steps in too, no longer putting up illusions, but sending that of a blast of wind magic towards that of the floor boss, pushing it off guard. Before then, that's when Julius steps in, using one of his powerful ice spells, creating that of a field of ice around that of the ice drake. Before then, multiple ice spikes begin to materialize around it, with Julius bringing his wand forward, sending the ice spikes forward into the drake. However, it wasn't enough either. However, even it was able to deal at least a little bit of damage, but not enough though. But Will planned for this, as he soon gives that of Leanna the signal, as she soon channels that of her lightning magic, while basically moving quite fast, creating that of her most powerful lightning spell, being Argaz, blitzing towards that of the Drake at that of high speeds, as her wand basically turned into that of a lightning blade, before then trying to stab it straight into that of its jugular. However, unfortunately, the Drake saw this coming, as it created that of layer after layer of dark magic barrier to defend itself from that of the lightning blade spell. But then it soon sends another dark barrage towards that of Leanne, with Will stepping in to save that of the blonde. However, each of the either of the dark spells continues to grow even faster and faster with each shot. With then Will having Kiki on that of his shoulder, telling her to create that of a barrier spell of her own, as it was able to protect Will and Leanna. However, it wasn't enough, as it did hit Will at least a little bit. However, what it hit the most was his goggles. The same goggles given to him by Elfiria, with his eyes winding in pure and utter shock, seeing the memento and the thing that basically gave him so much strength for these many years at Red Garden Academy basically shatter right in front of him. As the Drake's about to send that another blast of dark magic towards everybody, that's when Scion, alongside that of Julius, finally stepped in once again, with Wignall basically saving both Will and Leanne, using his wind magic to guide them to the ground safely. That's when Colette soon tried to get that of Will out of his funk, shaking him constantly, calling his name, with even Wignall a little worried too, wondering why Will isn't reacting properly, as he's still completely and utterly in shock, losing the goggles. As for Leanna, she soon goes back into the fray, using that of her lightning magic to send that of after barrage and try to get up close and personal against that of the Drake once again. However, each attack and attempt is not working, with even Scion wondering why the hell isn't Will doing anything. As looking back at Will, even Colette as well, seeing him shaking, trembling in fear, and also in sadness as well, with him even commenting saying, I can't do this, damn it. Scion, I need you to punch me, because I can't without Elfie's goggles. Without them, I can't do anything. I'm too damn scared to even move. Hearing that, something in Scion basically snapped. Something more than just being saved by that of Will back in that of a couple weeks ago. More than the fact that he hasn't been able to even fight him or even beat him once. Even more worse than that of literally having to fight alongside of him more than anything. And that is seeing him literally afraid as he basically screamed at him, saying, "Why the hell are you shaking? Why the hell are you afraid? You're the one that got us into this situation. You're the one that gave us damn hope. You're the reason that we're even still fighting right now. So why the hell are you shaking? Why the goddamn you're afraid?" As he screams all of this while basically punching the living hell out of Will, to the point that Will has tons of, punch marks alongside that of his skin breaking with blood. However, it's mainly Scion that's basically hurting much because, again, he's a mage that doesn't work out, so literally he's busting his knuckles for nothing. However, that pain isn't wasted, with Will catching his fist that was about to come down on him again, before giving that of the redhead that of a kind and somewhat reassuring smile, saying, "That's enough, Scion. I'm good. I'm not shaking anymore. So again, thanks." Before pushing him off and then heading to that of his sword and grabbing it, saying, "Let's do this right here and now." As he soon rushes in with that of support from that Leanne and Wignall, Scion is completely and utterly confused, wondering, after all that, he's not scared anymore? Within, Colette trying to calm herself down as well with that as she basically strokes that of Kiki's fur, saying, "No, he's scared. If anything, he is beyond scared." As looking back at that of the orange redhead, she always explains that Will constantly has to fight up close and personal with a sword, while we, those of mages who use that of wands, can basically keep our distance, can always fight from afar, while he has to fight up close, has to get up into that of enemies that can literally kill him with one hit if he's not careful enough. He's always been scared, but even while he's scared, as she looks Scion in his eyes, whilst even having tears in her own eyes as well, he always gets back up and always keeps on fighting. Within hearing that, Scion couldn't help but grit his wand and basically chant his own spell, while Will continues to try and find an opening, a way to bring down that of the Drake, as he even goes to his own minds. Without Elfie's goggles, I'm completely scared. I'm shaking. I'm terrified. I don't know what to do, damn it. While thinking all this, he continues to tries to aim for that of the Drake multiple times with multiple precise slashes and movements, moving around so quickly that the Drake's attacks can't even hit him. While the Drake knocks back Will once again, using his sword to block the attack, it soon sends another dark magic volley barrage at Will. But Will mentally reassures himself, saying, "But what I'm really truly afraid of, even more than this, is losing everybody else." With that full reassurance, he soon blocks each and every one of the attacks with his sword swings, before then jumping up into the air with that of the explosion memento from the dark magic attacks onto the ground. However, while in the air, that's when Colette sees the perfect opportunity, and she also begins to have that of an incantation over that, as below that of Will, her spell circle materializes, with Will seeing the opportunity, rushes down towards it. As soon as he does, and goes right through the spell circle, his sword soon materializes as that of a sharpened stone blade, being that of Colette's guillotine spell, as the massive single-edged blade soon comes down onto the Drake with one solitary slash. You would think that it didn't even do anything. At the same time, that's when the stone-like blade begins to chip and shatter. At the same, that's also when the Drake's left wing completely was cut off as it tried to send that of a powerful dark magic blast at that of Will. However, due to its wing being cut off, its equilibrium and balance was basically, well, messed with temporarily, which now, it stands back up, but with only one good wing, until Scion in the distance begins to chant an incantation for his most powerful spell, as he remembers everything that Colette said and everything that Will has been doing ever since coming to the academy, being here in the dungeon. While still casting, that's when he soon jumps off that of his fiery hawk spell familiar, within him screaming out, "Seriously, anything you can do, I know I can do it too, damn it! Watch me! Inflame Billion!" Sending that of his most powerful fire spell right into that of the evil Grand Drake, as it engulfs in complete and utter flames. Everybody completely and utterly shocked, seeing that the Drake may go down right then and there, with Scion almost having that of a look of pure and utter relief before, bam, he was soon sent flying by that of the Drake's arm as its body begins to recover from that of the flames. But even with that, it still took a lot of damage, to the point that you can almost see its skeleton, but still stands tall and strong while the flames consume it. While everybody is still somewhat in fear and shock, with even Scion still recovering from basically being smacked across that of the battlefield. Will, on the other hand, is having that of a crisis. Before then, something falls in front of him, as it looks like that of an ice crystal. However, what stands out the most is that of something carved into the ice crystal, as it looks like a key, as he couldn't help but feel like he's remembering something from his past, something he completely forgot about, or something that has been laid dormant within his memories, even his deepest memories, as that of a baby being held by that of a woman in a black dress, while that of a young person hidden by a cloak, can't even tell if they're male or female, spoke up saying, "So, you're really planning to do this? Both of you are." But then, the woman saying, "Of course, we've already made up our mind. This is the only way to protect this world from ourselves and those beyond this world as well. Isn't that right, my precious blade?" But then, standing right beside that of the woman holding the baby in her arms, is that of a man wearing that of a black coat and robe, where you can't even see his face. However, by the way he stands and the way that you could see him looking down at that of the baby before he kneels down and places his left hand on the boy's head as he begins to coo, saying, "Will, you'll face a lot of hardships. You'll go through a lot of pain and misery, especially in this world of all. People won't understand on how gifted and how precious you are to this world. But it doesn't matter. All that truly matters is who you become after all." As he's done basically stroking that of Will's head, before then materializing that of a sword of his own. However, this sword doesn't look like anything that Will had, or anything that any other dwarf would have either, or a monster. This sword is completely and utterly different, as it's basically a silver sword, but with a purple guard wrapped around that of its hilt on that of the sides, and at the edge of the blade is not a sharpened edge, but instead a teeth like that of a key, but the teeth is in the shape of a star. Within, as he soon puts it in that of a bottom grip, holding it by that of the edge of the blade, before then holding it in front of Will, as that of the young baby couldn't help but already grab onto it from the hilt. "Will, my boy, may your heart be your guiding key in this turbulent world of yours. As then the baby's eyes open. At the exact same time, that's when Will also begins to have eyes begin to have that wide of shock and awe. A key blade. Before then, rushing towards that of his sword, as then saying, I remember. I can't remember everything, but I remember that at least. Those words, that sword. I know it now. With that, as he soon grabs his sword, that's when he closes his eyes. Before then, that's when the evil Drake sends that of another blast of dark magic towards that of Will. But then, everybody's shocked and surprised. Before then, a bright light consumes Will, and his sword disappears, but exchanged for something else. Something that radiates not just magic, but absolute power. Or rather, it radiates light. Within, everybody completely, utterly shocked, with Will, as his eyes went from that of its usual amethyst purple to that of a blood-curdling red, with that of a certain symbol in his eyes, as this symbol almost looks like that of a custom-made heart. But as for his sword, it's no longer just the regular, broadsword that he always wields. Instead, this sword is that of a sword with that of multiple gold outings and layering around it, with that of a guard that covers that of the sides, with also gold embroidering as well. And at the tip of the blade lies that of teeth that looks like that from a key, but in the center, it looks like that of a heart and a crown mixed together. With that, everybody is shocked, with even Scion saying, wait, but I thought. But then Colette saying, Will, he could use magic? Or, but then Wagner saying, that sword, it's radiating magic, and Will is consuming it too. With Lien even commenting saying, there's no way. I thought he didn't have magic. With Julius saying, what the hell even is he? Within, looking at that of the new sword in his hands, as part of him wonders what the hell is it, but another part of him, a subconscious self of him saying, I know this. It's been a long time, old friend. Within, looking at that of the evil Drake, as the Drake basically roars in what remaining strength it does have. Within, sending that of another volley of dark magic that home ends onto that of Will. However, Will basically blitz passes them, moves around fluently, gracefully, as he even jumps into the air, looking like he's basically floating around like somebody liberated from that of from gravity, or rather, life as a whole. Before soon blitzing towards them, rushing down towards that of the Drake, as then the blade begins to glow into a bright golden aura, with all of his strength and all of his might, bringing down that of the glowing sword onto that of the head of the Drake, and with all of his might and roaring passion, cuts right through into that of the Drake, all the way down to its legs. With that, it soon begins to be consumed by the light, as its dying roars consumes the entirety of the area. However, little did that of Will and the others knew, somebody was watching, or rather two people were watching as well, as those two people being Professor Wartner and Professor Edward, as they were about to head down to save their students. At the same time, mainly thanks to that of Wartner using Kiki to keep an eye on Will, as seeing everything from that of Kiki's gem, even Wartner saying, Will, what even is that? But then Edward can help say, Serfort, what kind of power, or rather, what kind of blade even is that? Even from this ball, I can sense it coming from it. The powerful light radiating from that sword. as Will's eyes, still having that of the heart shape mark in them, while still being red, couldn't help but look at that of the creature, and somewhat of that of pure and utter rage, and also and somewhat of pity, as it soon basically fades from existence, like it never was there to begin with. Even what materials it would have made basically goes away in that of motes of whisk of darkness. All that's left of that of the Drake was that of the wing that Will was able to cut off before gaining that of his Keyblade, as he soon stands in that of triumphant victory with the Keyblade still in his hands and everything, with everybody completely and utterly shocked and surprised. And even Will can't even remember the words he just said when he saw this sword. But then soon, the sword disappears in motes of light, and all that remains is his sword from earlier, saying, what just happened? However, at the same time as Will begins to wonder what happened, that's when multiple monsters begin to consume around them, from that of evil sentries to even that of evil guards as well, running, basically blitzing towards that of Will and the others. With the death of the great Drake, and not being recruited by their supreme leader of a floor boss, that's when they finally started to step in themselves and want to devour that of Will and the others. With many of their magic depleted, all of them completely weakened, and whatever the hell Will was able to do to bring out his Keyblade, now basically all now in fumes, with Walkner and Edward trying their best to get to that of their students faster while they can. Unfortunately, that is easier said than done, as Julius was about to be pounced on by that of an evil guard. Soon, motes of light begin to consume the entirety of the area, and then consume that of the monsters as well. As then you could hear that of an elderly man's voice say a spell saying, "Low blows," as the magic consumes each and every one of the monsters, completely atomizing them, leaving nothing left, or whatever materials that there was left. As then, everybody completely and utterly shocked, with even Will completely dumbfounded too. Before then, that's when Wartner and Edward finally show up. Before then, noticing that of the people on the edge of the battlefield, all wearing that of white robes. Then soon, the one up front, that of a wand staff, quite majestic and quite something that you would see that of somebody from that of Holy Empires will have, as he removes his hood, showing his face being that of an elderly man with that of a blonde beard and long blonde hair, as this man being Arthur Masterson Old King, or rather, what everyone knows him truly as, the Magiavander King, the strongest Magiavander and head of the Masterous Light section. Within, the man saying, "What do I find? That of entities of darkness and lurking in the shadows, after coming back from a long campaign about to devour and hurt these young students. I hope that you all are well now." As looking at that of his eyes, as they basically look like he has that of a multiple layer spell circle inside of his eyes, as he looks down at all of them. With that, that's when Julius, alongside Colette, couldn't help but actually scream in that of joy and cheer that they are now saved, with everybody else, including Scion, begin to bow in front of his majesty. At the same time, that's when somebody in also the white robes, while basically carrying a large pack, walks over to that of Will, as he couldn't help but comment saying, So I was right. This world's Keyblade has now finally awakened." Within, Will seeing that of the person, as them being that of a supporter, with Will saying, "Can I help you?" Saying, Oh, no reason. Just a little curious, that's all. Within removing his hood, with him introducing himself, you can call me Finn. Just Finn. Offering his hand to Will, within Will saying, pleasure to meet you, Finn. With Will completely and utterly shocked. However, little did he know, he and Finn will interact with each other multiple times in the future. Outside of that of the dungeon, far away from that of Red Garden Academy and the city as well, lies that of a man wearing that of a black coat, with his hands in his pocket, and couldn't help but say, so, you finally awakened your Keyblade, Will. After all these years, my boy. I would have to say, better late than never. Ain't that right? Mercedes, our boy is finally growing up. And now that he's awakened his Keyblade, those who dwell in the darkness will come after him. Finn, if you find him, I am trusting him to you. Guide him to be the hero he was always meant to be. Is that he soon walks away before being consumed by light. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please tell me what you guys think in the comments below. Love to read them. So yeah, many of you may be confused on why Will basically gained his Keyblade nearing the end of season 1 of Wistoria. Yeah, that's the thing, guys. When I originally had the concept for this, I kept looking back while basically making scripts when him creating his Keyblade. Honestly, the Keyblade is literally a blade of magic that even gives that of whoever wields it in powerful magic as well, besides superhuman abilities that basically go beyond human comprehension. If I give that to Will at the beginning of that of Wistoria, and him already having that of the Keyblade, his underdog status would basically be revoked. He would already be seen as that of a prodigy, and all the struggles, the pain, and basically the ridicule that he goes through in the series would basically be meaningless. That's very integral to that of Will's character after all. So, best chance I can, replace his wife's ability with that of the Keyblade. It's literally the same thing, just more versatile after all, so yeah. And if you can all accept that and understand what I had to go through, I appreciate it. And you're right, with all that said, if you guys like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell notification to keep to date my videos uploaded to the channel. Also, please check out my Discord, gaming channel, side channel, other channel, Patreon, and Cash App. All link in the description below. So, with all that said, this is Yamuki, signing out. Later, guys. Hope you all take care. Do your thing, my Shiro.
Hi, everyone. This is White Fox. If you liked Leon's video, click the video on the left to see the most recent one. And if you want to see more of this, click the subscribe button and notification bell. And check out his playlists. If you still haven't subscribed, do so in the center. With that said, I hope to see you again on my love's channel. Bye!